Right. What's exciting though is that many of these maps are really largely accounts of coastal or peninsular India. There is still a fairly hazy idea of what is happening in the hinterland, and therefore the hinterland is very often imagined.
That is absolutely true. The hinterland was explored in more detail much later. We see the first maps of the hinterland in the, say, early 17th century. But the interesting thing is that there are Mughal maps of the hinterland because the Mughals were expanding and they needed the armies to follow the routes that they traditionally took from one place to the other. So these well-marked routes, in fact, were well mapped too.
So what is the distinction between, say, a Mughal atlas of India or a Mughal overview of what the landmass of India is like, and the Europeans' point of view, who are people from the outside coming along across the seas?
The interesting thing is we don't get that many atlases for the Mughal period made by the Mughals themselves, although we know there was a system of measuring the land that was very well established by
the Subas, the Sarkars.
Yeah, and we even know that the Portuguese sent an atlas to Emperor Akbar, which was sent back because there was no use for it. Although the routes were documented, and there are several maps to show it, there are not that many maps of large areas.
And this is what's happening very excitingly, and your book portrays it beautifully, the shift of history from commerce to conquest.
And, well, just immediately before that, as you mentioned about the Mughal period, I'd really like to bring an example in about how the West saw Mughal India. Sir Thomas Roe was the ambassador at Jahangir's court for 4 years, and there is a map made by Baffin which was made under his instructions. And if you look at this map, a lot of it is what Roe had heard of while he was in India. And he had, of course, also visited several places. So those places are fairly well shown. And there's some very interesting things that this map shows. They're phantom features, which actually don't exist on the ground.
Oh, yeah. Traveler's tales.
He's heard about them. He's heard about them. And he tries to be honest to what he has heard, and he puts them in. Like the Gomukh. He puts the face of a cow at Haridwar because he knows at the foothills there is this glacier that comes almost to the foothills, and out from the glacier comes Ganga, the river. So he puts that in. But he does also make very important contribution to historical cartography of India. He shows the mouth of the Indus. The West knew about the Indus, but they were not certain where the mouth of the river was. So he marks it on the map. And because Mughal India was North India by and large and Central India, his map does not show the peninsula.